Good evening, everybody. My name is Joe from the JoeDWhiteTalks radio program, and we are broadcasting live from Quincy, Illinois. What I want to do tonight is I want to talk to you about the most amazing film that just opened last weekend. It was Captain America Civil War, and that was Ballroom Blitz by Sweet, and it was on the Suicide Squad soundtrack, which is going to be opening up in July. I can't wait to see that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call my wonderful co-host. He's going to be doing co-hosting temporarily. So just 1 second. Let me go in and give him a call.
All right. So it came out earlier this month, Captain America.
Yes.
Nice.
It came out last weekend.
Nice.
It was really good.
Awesome.
So, one rainy dinny.
All right.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Steve. This is Joe from the JoeDWhiteTalks radio program. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm awesome. Great. And just like to say thank you so much for being my co-host temporarily until I find a permanent one. So, let's talk Captain America Civil War.
I have not actually seen it. I just watched a couple reviews of it.
Okay.
But I'll talk about what I know, I guess, if you want to talk about it first.
Sure, okay. Have you read the comic books?
For Captain America?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Well, I can tell you about what I've known after I've seen this film. I liked it for the most part. It was a bit too dark in my opinion. So this review will have spoilers. So if you're not seeing this movie yet, I definitely recommend you go to any local theater and see it. It's about 2.5 hours long. It was not even, it didn't feel like 2.5 hours. It was like an hour-and-a-half movie, actually, because it just was like one right after the other. But in my opinion, and compared from Batman vs. Superman to this movie, it was very, very dark. And you can actually tell because in previous films, when I hope you've seen the Avengers.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Have
I'm
you seen
being
the
bothered.
Avengers?
The Avengers? Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, Avengers is good.
Okay, so the Avengers was directed by Joss Whedon, who did the Buffy series, and Buffy has a lot of humor to it, along with some dark and serious moments. So you can tell that Joss Whedon has had his own personal stamp on the actual film, because there was just so many jokes and so many off-brow humor moments. You didn't see that in this film. It was like the first half an hour is like one after the other of bad experiences. You see Iron Man and the impact from the previous films. There was a scene where there was a conflict in Nigeria, and the main protagonist of the film, Iron Man, was confronted by the mother of one of the victims in Nigeria, and she just like completely blamed Iron Man for his death, and Iron Man had to deal with that, and then he had to deal with the fact that Miss Potts was not able to make it to a lot of stuff. She left him, and it was again one letdown after another, and it was just kind of really depressing in my opinion. So I was like, come on, where are the jokes, man? So
I remember the Avengers was just like kind of like a fun film. I just remember the scene where he's like, I have an army. It's that meme, and then Hulk just grabs Loki and throws him around. It's fun.
Oh yeah, it's so much fun, and And you saw another side of Captain America because
I think I saw the original Captain America where he, like, it was during World War II and he went and fought Red Skull or whatever.
Right.
Played by Agent Smith. What's his name again?
I know who you're talking
Agent
about.
Smith.
Agent Smith from the Matrix film series. Yeah, exactly.
That was good. That was, I remember elements of that movie, how he was like flying in a jet that he made over the United States that was supposed to like bomb New York or something ridiculous.
Right.
And I don't quite remember like the fight in that movie. I remember that they had like stole a mansion or something, but that's, I guess I watched superhero movies near the beginning, but the most recent superhero movie I've seen, which was Batman versus Superman, was just really bad. I exited the theater just like kind of stunned in a way, but I had also seen Man of Steel before that, and I guess that was kind of equally as ridiculous in some ways.
Right.
A lot of product placement in that movie.
Right. I mean, I think I had a little bit of a different interpretation of Batman versus Superman because I actually love that movie.
The most recent one?
Yes.
Why?
Well, number one, Wonder Woman showed up at the end of the film, and I'm a huge Wonder Woman geek. So, and it gave like a whole different interpretation of motivations behind Lex Luthor, and the different interpretations of the philosophies of Batman and Superman. Superman is this big god, and nobody thought that they could beat him, and turns out that either Batman or Superman had the power to defeat him, actually, because Wonder Woman has the sword of Alexander, the sword that they were referencing in the middle of the film that could cut Alexander's knot, and that sword can actually tear through Kryptonian flesh. So.
See, it seems like you are really into the lore of these the comics and stuff, which is good. But speaking from someone who came in and had kind of like just seen the original Man of Steel, I don't think there was any preceding movies. I think Batman was new, like they just introduced him in that movie, correct?
Right. I mean, with people that just walk in and expect a movie, they're going to be disappointed. They're going to walk out and say, oh, God, this is stupid. But with people that are actually good fans of these comic book series, they're going to be pretty stoked because you got Darkseid that will probably eventually show up, or I've pretty much rumored that his uncle will show up in part 1 of Justice League. So you got those hints that were like Easter eggs that were strewn about in the Batman versus Superman film, and I'm stoked about the DVD release. This is going to be shown on the Blu-ray release, which is supposed to fix many of the screw-ups from the theatrical release. It's supposed to be like 3 hours long. I'm actually wanting to see the 4-hour cut. So that's just my personal opinion. But back to Captain America.
Right.
So in the Captain
I heard it was better compared to. I'm referencing Batman vs Superman again, but I've heard it was better than that.
It is.
You're gonna be able to talk more about it because I've only seen a couple reviews.
No, it's okay. So you have Captain America, and he also had a lot of pitfalls in the first part of the film. Remember the girlfriend in the first movie?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the I can't remember what her name was. But she was like a not a captain, but she was like a lieutenant or something. And she dies. And the worst part about it is that Captain America gets a text message saying that she died in her sleep. So he has to go through the motions of going to her funeral, and he actually meets a relative of her, and it was just again, the first part of the film was just such a tragic part, and then you get to the part where they experience the fallout from their Nigeria event, and then they have to go through a choice. Iron Man wants to sign this treaty, which means that there's more government intervention with the Avengers. And then Captain America does not want to do the treaty. He doesn't want government intervention at all. So
which is strange because his name is Captain America. But.
Exactly, but I think it was kind of strange as far as the plot was concerned. You'd think it would be the opposite. You would think that Iron Man wouldn't want government intervention because
Tony Stark is more like a business individual, like a business kind of like that's his orientation. But yeah, it is kind of a strange mix-up. But
exactly. Yeah. And then they have their disagreements about the treaty, and then Bucky gets into the way, and then it further divides the line, and they basically fight it out. And the highlight of the whole entire film was Spider-Man, because
I heard about that.
He goes into Tony Stark goes visit Spider-Man because he got a video of Spider-Man saving the world, and it was just kind of cool as well because Aunt May was the hot Aunt May. They chose to cast a really hot actress as Aunt May, which was kind of really strange, but
whatever. I mean, it's not going to hurt the ratings.
As well as it explains the whole entire reason why Spider-Man got his costume, because Tony Stark said, well, if you join my side, I'll give you a costume and as well as a whole entire stipend for MIT. I'm like, are you serious? This is going to be awesome. It was, and he was just such the comedy relief of this film that I was waiting for the whole entire first hour of the film, and he pulled it off, and as well as Ant-Man, because he went into this big giant. He wasn't Ant-Man for the last part of the film. He was Giant Man, because he turned out to this big costume guy, and the last part of the fight scene at the airport was just astonishing. I
wish I'd seen this.
You need to see it. You need to go out and see it. It's incredible. The last part of the fight scene, I predicted that someone, like a major character, would die. I was wrong. I was thinking that Captain America would die, because in the comics, Captain America dies at Civil War, and then Bucky takes his place. But it didn't happen at the end of the movie. So this is going to be interesting. How are they going to frame the next two films? Because they're going to go to the Infinity War, and is Captain America going to die in the Infinity War? I don't know. It just the way that they're going to make out the next two films, it's just going to be up in the air at this point.
Right.
So we got a few minutes to talk about other stuff.
All right.
Have you seen Supergirl, the TV show?
I have not.
Okay. It's the first season just ended, or is starting to end, but they're planning on moving the show because it's really expensive to make. It's about $3 million per show, and in LA they weren't expecting the tax breaks that they wanted, so they're going to move the show to Vancouver. And CBS is no longer going to air the show. They're going to move the show to the CW, which makes better sense because they have Arrow and other shows. Other shows are going to be canceled. Unfortunately, Agent Carter is going to be canceled from ABC. There are other shows that are going to get the X, like Cancel, The Muppets, which is kind of weird because Muppets already. It's a show that's already been out for like one season. Because nobody likes The Muppets.
I mean, one show that I saw on Netflix recently that I kind of watched the first, like, I guess a little bit of the first episode of again was the original Batman, like, cartoon series. I used to watch it when I was younger. It has the Joker that looks kind of like Jamaican, sort of. I don't know if that rings any bells.
Was it voiced by Mark Hamill?
Probably. I'm not really good with voice actor names.
Mark Hamill was the original Star Wars, Luke Skywalker. And he got into a car accident, and he didn't want to do
regular acting anymore.
Right. And so he just decided to do voice acting instead, and he got the gig doing the Joker in a variety of different, Batman incarnations, as well as the video game series. So,
Gotcha.
Let's see. Have you seen Daredevil on Netflix?
I had a friend who tried to get me into that. I watched the first 5 episodes. I could probably recount what happened there at the beginning. I know he's a blind superhero.
Right. So, as a kid, he gets into this little accident with radioactive waste. He goes blind, but the radioactive material gives him extra sensory powers. He can actually see through sound waves, and
Sonar, kind of.
Yeah, and he makes him stronger. And from my understanding, I thought he had faster healing powers, but and in the show, I guess he doesn't. But let's see, what other Marvel shows on Netflix? Jessica Jones.
I have not seen that.
I've seen the first 2 episodes, and I wasn't really too impressed. It was kind of just really kind of off the wall weird.
Yeah, I watched the Batman mostly for nostalgia, and then like other things kind of dragged me away from it. But
right.
If those things hadn't driven me away, I probably would have rewatched it for the most part. It's good reminiscing, and it's not a bad show. It's kind of good when you're older to be more critical of stuff, to go back and watch it again. But
right. When I was younger, just to let you know, I'm 38 years old, so kind of gives you an idea of what I grew up with. I grew up with Masters of the Universe, He-Man and She-Ra, and I'm like, yeah, and I was like, oh, this is so awesome. I was like, big into He-Man, big time. I had like the Castle Grayskull playset and all the other good stuff. And now I look back and watch it. It's like, what was I thinking? This show is cheesy as all hell.
Yeah, retrospect tends to do that.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Trying to think of other stuff that we could talk about. I know you play
Static Shock.
Yeah, video games. I know you play video games quite a lot.
Yeah, Civilization 5, strategy games, Company Heroes, occasionally Call of Duty. What else? Fallout's pretty good.
Which one? Fallout 4?
Fallout 4, Fallout New Vegas. New Vegas is where I got into the series. I never played the 3. The lore is interesting to me. I pretty much know all the history of Fallout, so.
Okay. I've never played Fallout. I mean, I played other Bethesda games like Skyrim.
Yeah, I have friends who are heavily into that. They mod it and stuff. But
Morrowind. What was that one?
I just played Metal Gear Rising. That is a fun game.
Not so much into first-person shooters. I do like.
I don't know if I'd classify Metal Gear Rising as a first-person shooter. It is a first-person game, and actually, you play it in third person.
Okay.
Do you ever hear of Metal Gear Solid?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like an offshoot of that, sort of, as a different main character. It's definitely an over-the-top, tongue-in-cheek kind of game. The final boss, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's something. So, recommendation if you're looking for a new game to play.
Okay. I'm more into like the stealthy kind of games. Like you hide and seek and you kill other people in the shadows kind of games.
Oh, like Assassin's Creed, kind of.
Yeah, like Assassin's Creed, Batman Arkham Asylum, Hitman. That one I like pretty much. And plus, I like RPGs. Final Fantasy.
Good. It's a good one.
Final Fantasy 7 was the most epic one. 8 was not that great. 9 was decent. It harkened back into, the first 4 games of the series, where you're actually fighting dragons and getting all these cool powers.
Yeah.
10 was great.
I never really got into Final Fantasy, but I did play. My first game system was actually GameCube. My first game I played was Mario Kart Double Dash. A lot of classic fun. The original Super Smash Brothers. I played Luigi's Mansion. That was fun. I can still replay that today. It's just a fun game. Super Mario Sunshine. Like where you have to go around the Delfino Island and get paint off the stuff. That's literally the game. A lot of Nintendo games, but when I got older, I got a Wii, like 2010ish. I played first person shooters on the Wii, and that was interesting because I used the nunchuck in the aim. I don't know what you call it, the Wii remote.
Right. Uh-huh.
And that was definitely a different experience than just using a controller, but yeah. So that's I wanted an Xbox, but I never quite got that, and I feel like my experience with gaming would have been a lot different had I not gone with Nintendo. But of course, Pokemon was one I played a lot. That was on like Game Boy. And I played Ruby, Sapphire. I think the last one I played really was Diamond. That's where I kind of stopped, and you could transfer all your Pokemon from your older games to it. So I just kind of like stockpiled them there, and then I stopped playing. So, did you play any Nintendo games a lot?
I played Nintendo for Final Fantasy. I played Super Mario World. I played Castlevania. There was a Castlevania, Super Castlevania for Nintendo, Super Nintendo.
Those are classics, yeah.
I know, those are classic games. When I was younger, I begged my mother for a Super Nintendo, so I finally got one. I'm like, yes! But nobody wanted to buy any of the games, so I had to rent them. So I played like the first half of the games, and then I would have to take them back. But there was a lot of great memories on that system. So
that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm going to do is that we're going to take a break, and then I'm going to call up Shane Moore, who is an author. He does a great zombie series. So is there anything else you want to say on the show before we go to break?
Well, I guess my one plug is I would try Metal Gear Rising if you're looking for a game to play, but other than that...
Awesome, okay. Is that on the PlayStation by any chance?
I think it is. It's on every system, I believe.
Awesome. Because I have a PlayStation 4. I don't have an Xbox. So
yeah, I would go with PlayStation if I had a station, but anyway.
Awesome, okay. Well, I hope you have a great night, Steve.
You too. Good luck with your rest of your show.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Adios.
Alrighty, and before we go to Shane Moore, we have an awesome song that I want to play. It is by Hoosier, and take it away.
All right.
Raise your hand. Who's tired of the same 20 songs a day on other stations, 5 to 10 minutes of commercial breaks, sports shows all sounding the same, and DJs that sound like robots? Yeah, it sucks. Well, here's something different. We care about the listener. Riot freaking Radio.
All right, that was Hozier from the soundtrack of The Walking Dead. So I'm going to give Shane Moore a call. Just 1 second.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions for Joe, any comments, you can go to the Riot Radio Facebook page. It's just facebook.com/Riot Radio Rocks.
Awesome, great. Let me go ahead and call him right now.
Hello.
Hey, Shane, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Awesome. My name is Joe, and you're on live right now on the JoeDWhiteTalks radio program. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Okay. I wanted to talk to you more about your book series, the Apocalypse of Enoch.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Just to let you know, I've read like maybe a third of the book at this point. The first book, Rapture. Can you do me a favor and tell me more about this book series?
Okay. Well, essentially, I had did a short story for iHero Entertainment, which was a small comic-style anthology. I think a mix between a comic book and an anthology, and it had some greats on there like Tom Walsh from IDW, Sean Taylor from Gene Simmons' Dominatrix. A lot of great writers, so I was really honored to write for them.
Okay.
And when they approached me about doing some work for them, they did a short story, and I'd really never done anything superhero.
Right.
And so I just kind of I wrote a story about a superhero whose main power was to turn invisible, and she was kind of a mercenary for hire.
Okay.
And the entire story wakes up after she had been set to destroy a doomsday cult in St. Louis that was trying to bring about a zombie apocalypse.
Right.
And in the short story, she wakes up in the alley, she staggers across the street, and she's very feverish and stuff, and she, nothing really happened. You learn that she probably fought some monster or something, and then the last scene of the short story, she realizes that she's been infected and she dies. And then people around the bus stop are freaking out, and then she reanimates, looks at them, hisses and snarls, and then turns invisible. Because that was her superpower.
Oh,
so
wow.
that was the end of that. So the short story sold lots of attention, got sold real well, and I got approached by the owner of New Babel Books to write a. He read the story and loved it. He wanted me to write a zombie story, and I had turned down just about every zombie story for all the obvious reasons. It's really fun to read, but the plots are very basic, lots of plot holes. And it just really wasn't something that I was interested in. For a short story, it was fine. It worked great. But I just wasn't sure I could fill an entire novel of something that just hadn't been already done a zillion times.
Right.
And so I told him, I said, I really appreciate the opportunity, and it's rare for a publisher to come to me. It's the other way around. I said, but I don't think the project's right for me. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, like 3-4 months went by. And I was, eating dinner with my wife at a restaurant, and we were talking about the rapture. It's not, the word isn't actually used in the traditional Christian canon. It's not in there.
Right.
There's a lot of loose interpretations, and of course, just because we were sitting around BSing around dinner, I said to her, I said, hey, what if the rapture is occurring right now, and it just takes people's souls, and but it doesn't kill them? And my wife says, well, they kind of wander around like zombies. And then it all came flooding in very quick. Immediately started scribing napkins and scrolled down notes, outlined it, and then quickly went home, wrote a proposal. I wrote the publisher. I said, hey, I got a proposal. All right, I said, do you want to write a zombie book? And he said, no, pretty much everyone said the same thing that you did. And I said, well, I got a very unusual proposal. Just some quick research, never really been done. Let me, in the capacity in which I want to do it, I said, let me send you the proposal. So he shot me a quick non-disclosure agreement, shot the proposal off, and he said, I want to buy this. And I said, great. And this was in June of 2011.
Oh, wow.
And he said, I want to buy this. I said, that's great. And I said, I'll write it, And he says, here's the catch. He says, I wanted the zombie book to come out before the Mayan apocalypse in 2012. And I don't know if are you familiar with how the literary process works with books?
Not so much. I know that you have to write a manuscript, and then you have to find an agent or a publisher that would host the book. If you want to self-publish,
sure.
You have to send the manuscript yourself to a self-publishing company.
We'll assume it's already contracted. So
okay.
The process then is that if you haven't already completed the manuscript, you can write it. You're looking at 6 months to a year for a fair pace,
right.
And then you send it off to the publisher. It goes through different types of editing. You have line editing, commercial critique editing.
Right.
Then you have more of a layout. You get layout and design. You get all these processes. Typically, it's a year and a half, and that's fair pace. A year is rush. Well, if they wanted it to come out by the Mayan, the purported Mayan apocalypse, oh my goodness. So they said, well, we need the manuscript in 60 days.
Oh my good
I
lord.
said, there's no way. Yes, it's impossible. I said,
Yeah.
I got, at that time I had probably 12 or so novels under my belt. So I wasn't green around the gills, but I definitely wasn't a super experienced. I said, I don't think I can do that. I said, that's pretty significant. I've never done horror, and at that point I'd only done fantasy and the little short story thing.
Right.
So they just kept throwing money at me until 60 days didn't seem like that big of a challenge, and we came to an agreement, and I went to Starbucks, and I literally wrote this novel sitting in Starbucks. So the cliche of everyone sitting in Starbucks with a laptop writing a novel, that was actually me. I got away from many distractions, and I was there. It was open to close for Starbucks, and then wrote a little bit at home, did research, and I did the entire manuscript in 59 days, 18 hours when I hit submit.
Wow.
A couple of neat challenges about the Apocalypse of Enoch. You'll notice that all the characters in the book are real people. And part of that was I just didn't have time to flesh out fictional characters. I mean, it was just really challenging. So I found it easier if I just took people that I knew and put them in it, which gave me a great idea. So I put the setting in St. Louis,
Right.
and which was the area of which I'm on the Illinois side, but I'm familiar with all the areas. I put in real people, and it really let me focus and get the book done on time. So I was rocking and rolling, I was going well, and I was putting in people I knew. I needed EMT, reach out, social media, hey, I need an EMT who wants to do this book, here's a waiver sign. Well, I needed a newscaster, and here in St. Louis, we've got April Simpson. She was with KTVI Fox 2 at the time, and April had survived a brain tumor. And when she had discovered the brain tumor, they'd give her a 3 months or a 3% chance to live. I mean, she was not going to survive the surgery, and she did survive it, obviously. And she's just a real. She was just the type of person that I thought would survive a zombie apocalypse. So I reached out to her, and she agreed to be in the book as herself. And the next thing I know, I get a call from my buddy Matt Hill. Now, Matt was the voice of Ed and Eddie on the Cartoon Network. He was Raphael in the very first Ninja Turtles.
Nice.
Ed's the voice and all kinds of. He's a voice actor. He was in Shanghai Nights with Jackie Chan. He was the sheriff. So he's got a nice repertoire. So I made friends with Matt. We worked on a couple little side projects, and so Matt says, "Hey, you're doing a zombie book and you're putting like people in it." I said, "Yeah." And he says, "So how about you put me in it?" And I'm like, "Man, it's set in St. Louis. You live in Canada. You're Canadian. How it doesn't fit." And he says, "You're the writer. Come up with a reason I'm in St. Louis." I thought, well, okay, that sounds fun. So I decided to do that, and then of course Matt talked about it on social media, and then I get a call from another friend of mine, which was Terry Naughton. He was a Disney animator.
Okay.
And he's out in San Diego, and he says the same thing. He says, "Why am I here?" And I said, "Well, you're in San Diego." And he says, "Well, if Matt's in St. Louis, why can't I be in St. Louis?" So I put Terry in it, and then I was talking with Angie Mayhew, and that's Peter Mayhew's wife. Peter played Chewbacca in Star Wars.
Right.
And they're friends of ours. They came to my wife's wedding, and I see them on the convention circuit now and then. And I was talking with Angie about the project, and she says, "That sounds fun. Me and Peter would love to be in it." So what I did was I kind of put science fiction fantasy convention in St. Louis at the time. So when my main characters ended up in St. Louis, we have the celebs and some other characters trying to flee the convention. And it sounds like it kind of be a goofy setting, but it's very serious. I used the Rapture as a trigger point. That's the premise.
Right.
And I took 1% of the world's population was raptured here in America. That was 3.2 million zombies that instantly appeared everywhere. And then I took every kid age 12 and under. So, according to the Census Bureau, when 2011, when I was writing this, there was 38 million kids age 12 and under in the U.S. So I applied that to the novel story, and it turned out where the majority of the zombies were flocks of kids running around with untied tennis shoes, giggling and eating people. So that's essentially how it went.
Yeah, the point where I stopped reading, it was the hospital scene where one of the nurses was devoured by the children in the hospital. This is the creepiest thing I've ever seen. Because I'm like imagining this whole entire scene in my head.
Also, I did a good job. I did a good job with that. So it was challenging because it was, I only had 60 days. So it was really challenging to try to fit the people in that were fit in and tell the story in a horror setting. But I kind of wanted, I wanted kind of a Hitchcock style. So we got a little bit of gore and scary, you know, but nothing. I really wanted to build on the suspense. And as you read the novel, you'll see the suspense it adds. So now that you've had that scene, now I just keep piling on. When you're done reading it, I hope, my intent is for you to feel relieved that it's over.
Right. Interesting. And the actual one of the protagonists, Shane, in that book, I highly, it just brought me into through the whole entire, his whole entire experiences, because he came back from Iraq, from the war in Iraq, and he is basically kind of like treated like a villain when he gets back. It's like the government wants to take him down because he protected his whole entire unit from insurgency, and then he gets into this whole entire, the rapture thing, and then and the zombie apocalypse, and like he just cannot get a break.
Right. Well, you know what's neat is everything, of course, the characters and stuff, the places are real. Now, Shane Nettleton is a real person. He is a 3-time Iraq tour veteran with 2 branches of service, Marines and Army.
Right.
And but he was never in trouble or never stood trial. He's fairly decorated. But I wanted to, when I was writing it, I wrote him where he was, on trial for killing the insurgents, because he thought it was the right thing to do. And I needed that because when the zombie apocalypse, of course, hits, society is kind of washed away. And I wanted someone who actually benefited from this happening. So even though obviously lots of people are dying and the world's kind of horrible, it benefited him and extended his life and quality of life, even though everything else was around him. And then it made it fun with the celebrities involved, because their skill set, for the most part, is acting and also just being themselves, signing autographs and stuff.
Right.
So what happened was, when society collapses, their value goes to nothing. They, they're limited on their value for society. So they kind of become liabilities in a way. So instead of being sought after before the rapture, they're sought after, and then after, with all the zombies, they really don't bring much to the table.
Right. And I also really like the references to the Westboro Baptist Church. You don't know who the real freaks are, the zombies or the Westboro Baptist Church.
So I thought my opening chapter title would really draw readers in. I figured once they open the cover and they've seen that chapter title, I figured, well, that'll make the sale.
Yeah, it made the sale for me, because I was like, oh, this is going to be so good.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I actually tried to get sued by them. That was my intent. And so I wrote, as you'll notice, I call it the Westboro Baptist Cult, and I don't use their real names. But I leaked a manuscript that actually called the church, referenced them specifically. I even put in their actual names, and then had it accidentally leaked to them before it came out. They're not as dumb as we might think. They quickly sniffed out that that was an obvious. No one is that dumb to put that in there, so they didn't even bother sending me a cease and desist.
Man.
They didn't even care. They're like, whatever. They didn't even respond. And I know that they're aware because what's the leader? Is it Margie Phelps? I think that's the matriarch.
Are you talking about
Phelps is the last name.
I can't remember her name. Are you talking about the lady with the gray hair that has the bat crazy eyes, and she always goes on media shows?
Yeah, she's pretty much the leader now. She's the matriarch, and I can't remember her name. In any case, she posts every once in a while on my fan page. She follows my. She's watching me.
Are you
once in a while she'll
serious?
post on my fan page. Oh yeah,
that's creepy.
When Fred Phelps died, I did a celebration on the internet, and I gave away free books. I gave away like 6,000 book ones when he died.
Oh wow!
And she commented on I made it an event, on social media, and she commented her displeasure in my event. And of course, it's never good to celebrate someone's death, but they've caused so much pain to people in pain. I just kind of felt like, you know what, screw them, and I'm going to make an event out of this.
Wow.
Now, so did you get an ebook or did you get a paper copy?
I could not find a paper copy in any store.
Okay, there's a reason for that. We can get into that in a little bit. Now, the very first paper copy, the very first print run, the cover art is done by Raphael Lacoste. Now,
okay.
Raphael Lacoste is the chief art director for Ubisoft. He did all the Assassin's Creed stills. So whenever you see a cool Assassin's Creed still, that almost 100% was Raphael Lacoste.
Oh my God!
So we secured the rights for him to do the initial print run cover, and then when that print run was done, instead of putting out another print run with his artwork on it, I thought it would make that artwork more special, and we replaced it with the cover that you see on there with the arch from the St. Louis Arch, and that artwork's done by Kendall Hart, who is an amazing sculptor. He's probably the best sculptor, in my opinion, in the world. And it's unusual I'd hire a sculptor to do a book cover, but he did a pretty good job with that one.
Wow. Okay. Because I managed to get the digital edition on Kindle.
Okay. Now here's why those aren't why you won't find them in stores. And I'm going to bore you with a little bit of literary industry knowledge here.
Sure. Okay.
To get at a bookstore, Barnes & Noble, Borders, and I mentioned Borders, and yes, I know they're bankrupt, but I'm mentioning them for a purpose here. So if you want to get Barnes & Noble, Borders, etc.,
right,
what you had to do is the publisher had to have a return policy. So the return policy is that how it works is, let's say you're the writer, I'm the distributor, and Steve is the publisher, or I'm sorry, the bookstore.
Right.
So you're the writer, or you're the publisher, I'm the distributor. So Steve, the bookstore, says I want 30,000 copies. They send it to me, right?
Right.
So the distributor. So I print, bind them, ship them, right, to the bookstore. You're the publisher, so you're on the hook. Let's say it costs $2 to make each book. They order 10,000, so you're on the hook for $20,000, right?
Right.
So the bookstore puts them in their stores. They're all in their stores. They put 1,000 out. The other 9,000 are in the back, waiting for them to sell through their various stores. And let's say of that 1,000 that go out, they sell 800. And I'm only using numbers it's real easy. Obviously, they'll order more than that, but I'm just using basic numbers here. So they sell 80% of what goes out on the shelf. So that's 800.
Right.
So the profit that comes back in for the publisher after he sold everything, let's make it an even $3 a book.
Okay.
So if they sold 800, so he's made $2,400, right? In sales and after he's paid the writer and everything.
Right.
Well, Harry Potter comes out with a new book, and the bookstore decides it doesn't want to carry these titles anymore. So how the return policy works is they tear the cover off the book, they report the book's destroyed, they mail the cover back to the distributor for full credit. So 9,000 books come back. So $18,000 worth of books come back, but just the covers. You can't resell them; they're destroyed. To the distributor, who then bills the publisher for $18,000. And that's the return policy. This policy was started in the Great Depression, when bookstores and stuff, they're trying not to go under. So the publishers came together, they came up with this policy, and they created it. And once the Depression was over, no single publisher wanted to go back because the others wouldn't do it, and then they couldn't compete.
Right.
So when Borders went bankrupt, 3 of my 5 publishers I was published under went bankrupt with them, and a lot of my titles were tied up in the bankruptcy proceedings.
Okay.
So in 2000, let's see. Okay, so in 2012, Apocalypse of Enoch 1 was out, and I was writing book 2, and I decided I was going to try to self-publish for the first time. And the publisher, the guy who owned New Babel Books, Frank Fridella, and he was 41-ish. I'm speculating here. He just had his first kids, and they were twins. And his main job, he's a filmmaker. He does commercials and short films, and that's his main job.
Right.
So the publishing was a secondary thing. So he's overwhelmed. He has no time. He's got twin babies. And he said, I'll tell you what, I'll sell you New Babel Books. You're the number 1 bestseller anyways with Apocalypse of Enoch. I'll sell you New Babel Books. You can put your second book out there. I know you'll do good by the other writers. And so I bought New Babel Books. And then the first thing I did was I canceled the return policy. And it cost me some money because now the books are no longer in stores. But it wasn't 4 months after I announced that I had canceled the return policy with Barnes & Noble, so I didn't ship them any new shipments. Barnes & Noble announced they were closing 10% of their stores, 288 stores or 20% of their stores, something ridiculous.
Right.
Nationwide. I can only imagine the percent of returns that would have came back to me.
Right.
So I saved myself a bundle. And then I'm not confident in bookstores in themselves to be profitable. The mass market paperback is ending. Everything's moving towards trade paper. Novel sizes are shrinking. They used to be 80 to 120,000 words. Now they're shrinking down to 60 to 80,000, and which is really used to be a novella. 60,000 used to be a novella, and now that's essentially kind of a novel.
Right. Right.
But I don't want to bore your listeners with industry jargon.
Actually, I was quite interested in what you had to say about the industry because, some people want to start their own novels or whatnot. So a little good industry information is not bad.
Yeah, I could tell you, I give speeches and seminars all the time. When I'm booked to appear at conventions. In fact, I've got to be in South Carolina next weekend. I'm booked to appear at XCon, and I'll give speeches and stuff on the industry and how it's changed and what's good, what's bad, and things to watch out for and pitfalls and stuff like that.
Right.
So if any of your listeners are going to be, or any of your listeners are in South Carolina or near Myrtle Beach, I'll be at XCon. Come in and get a book, and if you want to learn about the industry, I'd be happy to speak with people.
Well, that's cool, Shane. Well, thank you so much for being on my radio show program, and
no worries.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have a website?
You can have me back anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. You can actually, my website is down because I'm upgrading it, but it will be ShaneMoorePresents.com.
ShaneMoorePresents.com.
That will have every project. What may be popular is my fantasy series, the Biswalker series. Then it's been optioned by Trollord Games. They're coming out with a tabletop expansion for that series, and to make it a role-playing game. And of course, Trollord is what Gary Gygax partnered with. That's where he sold the rights to TSR. So it's a really good company, and it's really the father of D&D. That's where he went with.
Awesome.
And then, so that's really what made me popular. So I had a Biswalker.com, and it had all my fantasy stuff, and then Apocalypse of Enoch came out, and then I did some work for Toy Hunter on Travel Channel for the reality show, and then I've done song lyrics for Sony White Records and Universal Music Group. I've done, I did a TV pilot and a comic for Cassell Studios with Kurt Yeager from Sons of Anarchy called Vindicate Incorporated. Mm-hmm. So my body of work was very diverse. So I was like, I need to just consolidate all this under one website. So I've got ShaneMoorePresents.com, but I haven't had time to really get fully launched with all the spring tour and everything I'm doing.
Well,
the easiest way to find me is Facebook. Type in author Shane Moore in your Facebook. You'll see the little blue check mark on the page. That's me. Mm-hmm. The profile pic says "Stand by to be dorkified," and that's my page.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, sir, again, thank you so much for calling in, and hope you have a good night.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and have me back anytime. I can talk about anything you want.
Sure. Awesome. Well, I'll be more than happy to have you back.
All right. Well, take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good stuff.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So a little tidbit here. Steven hops on the page here on the Captain America.
Sure.
Little Civil War graph we have up. He says, listening to Riot Radio for the first time. Awesome. Really enjoying it. Fun is infinity, he says.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, Steven. Appreciate that. Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man. That was cool.
Yeah. Any other questions on the Facebook page?
You know what? Not right now, no.
Oh, okay.
Steven hopped on. We had a bunch of likes on the graphic.
Interesting.
On
Okay.
Captain America War Review graphic, Civil War Review. And so, yeah.
Cool.
Building it,
Okay.
baby.
Yes. Awesome. Well, I guess I'll see you tonight. I'll see you next week every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. Visit Riot Radio Rocks at riotradiorocks.com. I have my own Twitter at JoeDWhiteTalks. I have my own Facebook page, JoeDWhiteTalks, and I have my YouTube channel at JoeDWhiteTalks. And as well, if you're wanting to advertise on my radio show, we're taking also submissions for advertising. So if you want to broadcast your own advertisement on my show, definitely give me a holler at JoeDWhiteTalks@gmail.com. And I hope you guys have a great night.
This is the all-new Riot Radio. Total variety, partial sanity. A crazy, unique mix of talk shows and music shows. RiotRadioRocks.com and Facebook.com/RiotRadioRocks. We're also on Twitter and Instagram at Riot Radio Rocks.